What's happening, guys? Acrinator here, and welcome to the second episode of Counting Pixelated Sheep. I am joined by my partner in crime and co-host for this podcast, Sirjohnmac. Say hi.
Hi.
And today we have three news articles for you guys, instead of just like the one large one. Not every day we're going to have such a large story as like a new World of Warcraft expansion. So for today we have these three stories that you can see on the screen. So the first one will be going over in that order that's on the screen is the mobile game Pokemon Go is currently in development. The second article is Scientific Review Makes Business from Managing Mobile Game Economics. And the third one is about the new Shovel Knight expansion pack, The Plague of Shadows, that's set to release, I believe, this Thursday, September 17th. So, that being said, let's get straight into the first article. And go. Yeah, I did PowerPoint this time, so it is a lot easier to navigate and it just looks nicer. So, Pokemon Go, what is it? It is a new Pokemon mobile game. It is set to release in 2016 and it is being developed by the Pokemon Company and Niantic Labs. Now, just like last podcast, there's going to be links down in the description below if you want to get like a lot more details about this. But here's like just the basics. You could see like this little accessory that we'll go over a bit more in the next slide, I guess. And here's like a little, I'm assuming a concept art thing of the game itself. And let's get into the game development a little bit more. Sorry if I butcher this name, but Junichi Masuda, the director of all the Pokemon games, will be directly involved in the developments. They didn't say exactly how, if he's going to be like actually developing or just giving his input on like what should be done better or whatnot, but it's nice to see that there's a familiar name and face working on this. I don't really think I've ever played a bad Pokemon game, and I've played from like, the original Red and Blue all the way up to Black and White 2. I haven't been able to get one of the newer DSs, whatever it is, in the X and Y, so I personally haven't played the newest generation, but I've heard it's the best yet. It's notable to say that Nintendo and DNA, their mobile games partner, are not going to be directly involved. Obviously, Nintendo's publishing this, so they're going to be involved in some way, but I don't believe DNA's involved at all, which I believe they haven't had the best track record. I believe some of their DNA's past games have been like really bad for like in-game store stuff, in-game purchases. One take. So it's nice to see that Niantic is taking this. Nothing really too notable. I believe Niantic worked with Nintendo and Google for Google's April Fool's thing, either this past year or the year before, where you could like look around on Google Earth and find different Pokemon and do something with them. I don't know, but I believe Niantic was involved with that as well, and that's probably what gave people the idea, or that was probably the beta test for this. So, the game itself, Pokemon Go, will be free to download, but there will be a Pokemon Go Plus accessory, like pin or bracelet that you can see right here, that is, I'd have to assume it's like, a couple bucks, if not like 10, 15 bucks. How they described it was like, as you're walking around in the real world, the pin, if you get near a Pokemon, will light up and buzz. So I guess that gives some sort of advantage, but I don't think it matters all too much. I mean, I can't imagine you can't just have your phone on like vibrate and it'll vibrate whenever you get near. Just have the app set to give you notifications. So on to the game itself. What we know about it, rather, is very little we know about it. Like, there's a trailer, YouTube trailer, which is also in the link description below, but here's like some screenshots I got from the video, and you can catch, battle, and trade Pokemon, and it sounds a lot like a real Pokemon game, just on mobile. In fact, Masuda has even stated that they're already looking into ways to connect Go with future Pokemon installments. I think that's really, really cool. That's actually what I was thinking when I first heard of this, is like, can it connect with, the current Pokemon games, or is this just completely useless in terms of someone who wants to play Pokemon on their DS or NX or whatever the hell the next like Pokemon games are going to be. But so this actually has some value to it, I guess. It's worth getting for anyone who's like big into Pokemon. Let's see, they stated that this would be somewhat of a social experiment, getting players out into the real world, because you would find Pokemon not like rent. They wouldn't like come to you, obviously. Like in the games, you have to go out into the world and find them. And in the YouTube trailer, the teaser, I guess, because it didn't really show too much other than like what I'd have to assume is stuff they're spitballing at this point. They show like, wild Pokemon 200 meters that way, and I believe it would probably be like actual 200 meters that you had to walk, as you can see in this like leftmost picture where this guy is grabbing a Pokeball that he like generated from his phone in the trailer, and he threw it towards Pikachu. I don't think you actually have to make like the movement. It's not like the Wii where you need to like throw your phone and just like have an iPhone and it shatters into a million pieces, or you have an Android and it cracks the cement. But I don't know. It's pretty cool. What are your thoughts on this, John?
Well, I think honestly, I kind of just like having a Pokemon game that's not on like a handheld console, like actually on a phone, like every other game nowadays. But
Yeah.
isn't this like the first real Pokemon game that's not been on like the DS or one of
Or the
their other
Game Boy
handhelds?
Yeah. First, like, real Pokemon game. There's been Pokemon-themed games, like there was the, I forget the name of it, but it was like, you take pictures of Pokemon, and that was on the N64, and I actually played that a few times. There was Battle Coliseum, where you couldn't, like, go out into the world, but you could battle. It was just a battling game. You could even transfer your things from the DS games onto the Wii, and that was pretty fun. But yeah, this is like the first actually go out into the world and do all that stuff. And one thing that sort of piqued my interest in the YouTube trailer, I believe John's family is watching football in the background, and they're pretty damn enthusiastic about it, so yeah. It's not like we don't have 1,000,001 other distractions to begin with. Legendary events. This in the trailer, and I would highly recommend watching the trailer, if not just for this, because the concept of this is really cool. It didn't really explain it much. It was just more of like a done showing off specific mechanics of the game and just showing off like something probably cool that they're thinking of. What it was is on the right here, you can see in this is supposed to be in New York Times Square, and I highly doubt that it'll like actually pop up. That'd be really cool if it did. But like, people were looking up at the billboards, and it's like 3, 2, 1, boom, and then it showed that popped up, and then a timer started counting down from 10 minutes. And what it was, at least in the trailer, you could see here, and unfortunately I couldn't get a clear shot of like any other part of the fight, but it's way more than just one trainer. It's like legitimately everyone in the area was piling on Mewtwo. And one of the cool things was that they didn't have to like capture him, they weren't like chucking Pokeballs at him. They were just fighting him, and I believe at the end of it, like, the time of course ran down to 0, and they're like, did we get it? And it goes, Pokemon caught. So it's interesting to see that like possibly all you have to do is defeat the legendary instead of like having to go through the hell of catching it. Because anyone who's ever gotten past the first gym in any Pokemon game knows how tough a legendary Pokemon can be to catch. So many Ultra Balls wasted, and then that inevitable Master Ball just to catch a fucking Pidgey. It was very interesting, and it brings up some interesting facts about like how people can work together. It's like it's interesting how it'll work, because yesterday when John and I were discussing this, whether like we had a few other articles that we were thinking about doing for the podcast, and we later decided not to, so we were trying to figure out how much discussion we could get out of this. John said, like, could you imagine if it was like the well, why don't you say like the
if it was like the last hit, whoever got the last hit
in an MMO?
Yeah,
people would be trampling each other like freaking Black Friday and like a Wednesday in June.
Yeah, to get that one phone of whoever got it.
Yeah, so it would be very interesting. At least from the teaser, it looked as though everyone who was a part of the event would get it as long as they could defeat it collectively. And one thing that I would have to ask is like, how often are these like legendary events going to happen? You know, because legendary Pokemon, obviously in the games, every other Pokemon game, the legitimate Pokemon games, legendaries, like everyone has a chance to get them, but at the same time, that doesn't make them any less special. You know, their stats are really good and stuff like that, but in a mobile game like this, where these sort of events happen, how often are these going to occur? How special are certain Pokemon, like, you know, Mewtwo, you know, Mew, what else, like Lugia, Ho-Oh, you know, like these crazy legendaries that, especially for people like me who have been a part of the Pokemon fandom since, like, you know, the very beginning, the earlier generation, like, mega legendaries, if you will, like the big ones that like the entire game revolves around, those have a lot of meaning behind them, a lot of sentimental meaning. So I don't know, what are your thoughts? Like, how would the how often of these occurring would you think this would affect the game, John?
Uh, I'm not sure. Like, if it was a daily thing, that might be kind of cool. Like, I mean, you don't know really what it's going to be, but you know the general location of where it's going to happen, or something like that. If it's just completely spontaneous, that could be really interesting, because just having something like Mewtwo could be some really prestigious thing.
Yeah, actually, and what you just said brings up my next point is, would they give any prior warning to this? Because in the trailer, it appeared as though it happened spontaneously, and everyone was just like, "Holy shit, we gotta go!" You know, I had people sprinting up to the center of Times Square and just like chucking their Pokemon into the Battle Gear, like, "Go!" You know. So, would they get any prior warning? And if people did get prior warning, how do you think that would like affect people's behavior?
I can just picture some dude being on like a date or something, like a first date, and he gets some notification on his phone, like some legendary is going to appear in like a mile away, somewhere else in the city. Like, oh what do I do? And then the girl that he's on the date with is already getting in the car to go get the Pokemon.
She's a caper. Yeah, it's like, and even if there is prior warning, like, how big of a prior warning would that be? You know, if like they say 2 days from now at 10 p.m. Mewtwo is going to show up in Times Square. What kind of chaos could you like imagine Times Square? Like, I can imagine Nintendo getting some heat for that from like legitimate politicians of like cities. You know, like the mayor of New York telling Nintendo like, "Fucking stop." You're like, you know, I can imagine if they make it too, give people too much warning, then and put it in too inconvenient of a place for the rest of the world, it could be a hell of an occurrence.
Yeah, I mean, like one misplaced coordinate, and it's like, oh hey, something's about to appear in Antarctica.
Go to the center of the Mojave Desert.
Yep.
Have like Burning Man 2.0.
Oh god.
Digital version.
Burning Man Pokemon Edition.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And onto like some of the logistics of the game, not necessarily the mechanics, but more like how the game will work. It is confirmed that they're planning on putting in-game purchases in the game, and I actually caught this one screenshot where you could see right here, which I was, if you remember, John, I was asking yesterday, how they showed Pokeballs, but they never showed anything like an Ultra Ball or a Great Ball, and those are actual things in the games, and they give you a better chance to catch these Pokemon. So that brings up the question, like, what can we buy? You know, like, can people, shell out $10 a pop for like a Master Ball? and just get like whatever the fuck they want? You know, can they? Or it may be obviously enough. The Master Ball probably isn't going to be available. If it is, it's like $100 per. You know, but I don't think that'll be the case because it sort of ruins the integrity of the game. Just letting people with the biggest wallets catch literally whatever they want without fail. That's the big part of the Master Ball, is that it catches stuff without fail. Or they can be real dicks and just be like, $10 per Master Ball, and it has like 99.9% chance. So that one poor sap that Master Ball fails, they just like chuck the phone.
Oh man.
But it's certainly interesting. And on top of that, like, what sort of resources will we be given to start? You know, like here you see this player has 10 Pokeballs, what looks like seven Great Balls and 1 Ultra Ball. Is that like what's given to us normally? And on top of that, we're just building more and more onto this, more and more concerns of what Pokemon Go can be. Is like, how often will we get like refreshes on these resources, if any? You know, like I would hope, really, really, really hope that like resources like Pokeballs are refreshed at least like once a week. You know, maybe daily's asking a bit too much. You know, getting 10 Pokeballs a day might not be the best thing, but like, you know, maybe like 10 Pokeballs a week. That's reasonable. And like, would they give us any Great Balls or like any Ultra Balls? You know, say like, you know, give us like 10 Pokeballs, 3 Great Balls, and 1 Ultra Ball, and that refreshes every week. And if you want any more, you could get, you know, you could buy them from the store. Otherwise, if they just give you like Pokeballs and then like the Great Balls and the Ultra Balls are like pay only kind of thing, that would give like pay to players an unfair advantage, really. I mean, like, what are your thoughts on this, John?
I feel like if they did this the wrong way, then that could be really bad because, I mean, Pokeballs are literally how you get the thing that you need to play the game.
Yeah, the ultimate resource.
Yeah, I mean, I don't I can't even try a comparison to something in another game. Like, in Call of Duty, like buying your first gun or something. Like, if you had to pay for that.
It was like real game with real life money.
Yeah.
It's also interesting to think, in the Pokemon games, you have money. Obviously, money's never an issue because you're pretty much always winning battles against like NPCs, and that brings up another point, but I'll do that afterwards. Like, is there going to be an in-game currency? Because some people definitely might be able to, you know, similar to Hearthstone with gold, where people just kind of like go crazy on Arena and they get like, you know, they just never have to pay anything and they have like all the cards. Will that be the same thing if there is an in-game currency? I don't know. And going back to the NPCs thing, are there going to be NPCs? Like, obviously you're not going to have like crazy amount of NPCs that like you do in the normal Pokemon games, because that's just a little bit unreasonable, especially if like you have to worry about leveling your Pokemon. A lot of the Pokemon that you see in the trailer, you know, the highest level I think I saw was like 30. So, you know, if I'd assume that I would hope that there are some NPCs, because otherwise the only other way to level up your Pokemon are from battling real life people, like other trainers, or wild Pokemon. And as anyone who's ever played the Pokemon games before know, that's not a viable way to level up Pokemon. It takes forever. In fact, in multiplayer battles in the original Pokemon games, you actually don't get any experience for playing multiplayer battles. So I don't know how they do that. Speaking of which, and I just thought of this right now, how would the starter Pokemon thing work? Like, would you just like roll a dice and be like, you get, you know, Charmander or whatever? Pick any starter Pokemon that you want. Well, I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
It'd be kind of cool if they just gave you your pick of like, I don't know, maybe like X's starter Pokemon, X and Y's starter Pokemon, or maybe they give you just the selection of any of the starter Pokemon from any of the games. Like, you can get Charizard if you want.
Well, Charmander, I'd hope.
Charmander, yeah, that one.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Like, they give you like the option of what is it up to now? Like 18? Oh,
Yeah.
and you get to choose like one of the 18. Actually, speaking of which, this is another thing I just noticed. In the trailer, I don't believe I saw any Pokemon outside of Generation 1. So maybe for now they're limiting it. That would also give them a decent capability for future expansions, if you will.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They didn't show anything. Like I believe the highest number, like national, or like the total Pokedex was like Mewtwo. I don't even think they showed Mew. I don't know. That's a lot of stuff that's like unknown right now. So far, it's just like I believe this was just recently announced a couple of days ago. So we actually got lucky with this podcast timing that it was close by to the actual announcement. And unfortunately, that means there's not a lot of information similar to like the Legion thing, where it's much of speculation and hopes. One thing that's interesting, if like as the game progresses, what the cost of acquisition will become, if it does become anything. For those of you who don't know, cost of acquisition is an economics term used for many things, but just for like in the terms of free to play. For example, Hearthstone. Cost of acquisition for Hearthstone is like estimated to be around $400 or $500, and that's what that is to instantly start the game at a competitive level. And there's a link below for Kriparian's video back like this past March, I believe, where he did like a poll and he estimated about how much it would cost. And I'd say he's a pretty good expert on a lot of things Hearthstone. And even so, there's like Clash of Clans actually on their Wikipedia page, which is also linked below. They have charts listed out, and I think it's really cool that they did this. Showing like if you wanted to buy everything and max everything out, like from certain levels, from like town hall levels, and have everything maxed out for that town hall level, how much would it cost? If you start from 0, this is in Clash of Clans, like just start from the very beginning and max everything out instantly with just money, it costs like $12,000. And you can go check the Wikipedia page because I am not bullshitting you. It's like legitimately 12,000. Granted, I have never heard of anyone shelling out that kind of money just to become that competitive in a mobile game. And then there's like there's more complex games also that have like cost of acquisition, like Candy Crush. That you can't necessarily buy your way through levels. And actually, I'm gonna use the Candy Crush example for the next article as well, because it's relevant there as well. But cost of acquisition, if more Pokemon generations pop up, say, it just gets to the point where like the average player has level 50 stuff, and someone just starts, it becomes more daunting for a new player to start. So maybe they do have to shell out that couple dozen, maybe even couple $100 for the extra Pokeballs, the higher level, like higher grade Pokeballs, to just catch as many good Pokemon as possible to have a competitive advantage, or at least be level with the competition, instead of just getting wrecked thoroughly. What are your thoughts on this, John? Like compared to costs of acquisition, like free to players being underprivileged compared to pay to players, kind of thing.
I mean, obviously if it follows the trend of like any other free to play game, it's going to happen, and it's just a question of how bad it'll be, like how much it will affect the like overall game. Like if I get into the game like a couple months down the line, am I even going to get anything out of it? Because if I started Hearthstone now, oh
forget
God.
it. That $400 or $500 price was estimated a few months back, let alone now. So that's probably up to probably about 100 for the new expansion. So that's about 100 so more cards to get.
Yeah. And if it does get too high, what are they going to offer? Like, I don't know, starter packs or something like that? Maybe it gives you like a couple decent Pokemon that are leveled up to like 20 or 30 or something.
Yeah, maybe something like the World of Warcraft level boost thing. Anything else, or?
Well, I mean, we don't really know how exactly Pokemon training is going to be, so whether or not it's something like that would be valuable. Like,
Yeah, right.
is level 30 going to be like a big thing? I
Yeah.
mean, I think yeah, like you said, the highest level of any of the players' Pokemons in the intro and or the trailer, and we have to take that with a huge mountain of salt,
Yeah.
was 30. So,
Yeah,
I
and
mean, the
I
normal max level is 100, right?
yep.
Yeah.
So, you're going to have those few like tryhards like here and there that have 6 level 100s like god damn it. I'm stuck at 10. Yeah, I couldn't actually see what Mewtwo's level was. I don't think he had one posted. But like a lot of the times when you fight legendaries, they're usually either level 45 or 75. Is usually those two. The more prestigious legendaries, like the bigger ones, are usually around the 70s, and the lower ones, more common ones that you can find before you even complete all the gym badges, are usually about 45, 40. So like legendaries might become like might become a legitimate thing. Like having a bunch of it would be really funny. It'd be like the equivalent of like level ones raiding Hogger in World of Warcraft, where you just have these bunch of level 20s beating on Mewtwo, and he's just like one-shotting everything. If they have like AoE attacks, everyone's gonna die. Or faint, rather. They don't have death in Pokemon. And speaking of which, actually, this is like, I believe the last point, because I believe this is the last slide for Pokemon Go, is how will Pokemon be distributed across regions? Now, this is more relevant to the show, which, dare I even quote the show, but Pokemon in the show are very, very region specific. Certain Pokemon are even only found in like cities, like Magnetite and like Trubbish, and if you know half of these. And compared to like forest areas or like suburban areas, compared to like beach areas, ocean, lake, there's all these different areas like marsh, swamp, everything. And certain Pokemon are only found in those certain areas. How how do you think that would affect like Pokemon being found in the real world? Do you think someone is gonna have to go to the desert to find like a fucking Trapinch, or are they gonna do you think it'll be more viable to like mix up how the Pokemon are found and less region specific and more just like, okay, it's this region's turn to have this kind of thing? What would you think would be more viable in this case?
I just think from the like whole social experiment perspective, which is entirely how I'm looking at this, it would be really interesting. Like maybe a lot of fire types are only found in like I don't know Hawaii or somewhere else in the Ring of
In the
Fire.
volcano.
Oh god,
Go lava diving to get Kyogre.
that would make it extremely interesting to me at least.
Or
I mean,
Groudon, or whatever the fuck that thing's called. Ruby.
yeah.
Yeah, that would be funny. And it would actually, like you said before, the social experiment thing, you can trade Pokemon, so that would make it more worthwhile for the trading thing. So, I don't know. It's there's so much potential, and there's very few ways that they can really fuck this up. And I really hope that they don't fuck it up. Because this might be the thing that helps me get back into Pokemon. Like I still have my, I believe it's White 2 game, and I still have my like ultimate team that I bred specifically for that. And that's another thing I almost forgot about that I forgot to add in here is breeding. Is that going to be a thing? Like, do you have to go to certain areas in the world, or is there going to be like a breeding thing where you can get the specific like traits and natures? Anyone who's tried to like breed specifically for the traits and natures that they want know exactly what I'm talking about here, because they do create superior Pokemon stats wise. As they level up, they become more powerful in specific stats because those level up faster. So it's there's a lot of complexity, and not just in the mechanics wise, but in like the social experiment portion of this. Have anything else, or I believe that's the last thing for Pokemon Go.
Yeah, that's my part on it.
Yes, and I was correct for once. Scientific Revenue. This is a company that works to... How to put it? They are sort of an economic-based company based around helping mobile game developers price goods for their in-game purchases, for example, like Clash of Clans with their gems, or, I don't know, Candy Crush with their... What do they have?
Power
More,
ups.
like more... I've never actually played Candy Crush, so... Whereas Sirjohnmac's mom is on, level infinity.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's just there's a lot more complexity there than just will people pay for this compared to this, for Clash of Clans gems, say one gem costs 99 cents. I know it's a lot less than that, but just bear with me here, it's not just everyone in the world will pay one set price. The article that I use for this, that I learned about this from, they quote how India, they consistently pay a lot less for mobile games than others do, basically anywhere else in the world. Whereas Japan and the US are some of the higher ones. I believe Brazil's one of the lower ones. Australia pays a lot more for mobile games. It's just, what the culture dictates what's a decent amount, what people are willing to pay in those cultures and regions. So what Scientific Revenue does is they have a team of 15 people, I believe, many of which came from management of game industries. And they actually have 2 economists on their team as well, and they work with these companies and help set prices, not just for the store, but for the store in these different regions. And like I said before, with the cost of acquisition, Candy Crush, there's an article that I'll link in the description below where someone has confessed to paying over $230 in the course of, I believe, a month in Candy Crush, just because it's so addicting. It has that very persuasive, I just need one more chance, I just need that many more moves, or I just want to get past this level, and it just adds up a lot. It's apparently to 200 some odd dollars. And for people with a less willpower, that's pretty easy to click that, buy button. Now, for this is honestly, I think it's brilliant that people sort of found a void in the market, I guess, and found a place where they can help out, and they created new jobs. I mean, this is not only setting appropriate prices for the game users, so making them happy, but it's giving the devs more profit as well. And I believe the Scientific Revenue only takes a profit if the profits go up 10% or more or something like that. So it has to be a significant increase. They're that confident about their work. So it's very interesting. And there was even some game developers on the team, or past game developers or managers of development teams, who said they had never even considered this as a thing. Most game developers don't have a background in economics. Very few people do, except for those who actually do. That sounded really dumb, but it sounded better in my head, so shut up. It's something that people take for granted, I guess. When you're in that sort of industry, you don't really think about it too much, and how much more money you could be getting from it, and how much more happier you can make your customers by having appropriate pricings. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on this, John? Your mic is off.
There's a good reason for that, I'll tell you that much. But it's very interesting, just the whole idea of buying virtual items for real money, and the kind of economy that entails. I guess just there is no supply and demand like a normal economy, because the supply is infinite. Infinite. And the demand is entirely what you make.
Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly interesting. Wasn't I believe it was the original EverQuest when they had the real money trading house or something, auction house. They were like the fourth richest country in the world or something, if they were a country, some crazy shit like that, because they were, going through so much money. So they, like, not just for mobile games. I mean, this specifically is for mobile developers, but like, games themselves that work with economies, MMOs especially. Look at EVE Online. Their economies are something to behold. Actual
Yeah.
economists like study EVE Online to understand trends in markets. That's crazy. And what are your thoughts on like them meaning like the company Scientific Revenue, managing to sort of create this new field of work in the gaming industry? Like, how do you think this would? Do you think this will like better the gaming industry as a whole?
I mean, it could either better it or it could just make it better at separating idiots from their money. So
Yeah, I mean,
probably
someone's
a
gonna
lot of
do
the
it. So
latter. Yeah,
someone's gonna do it. So it might as well be someone who can give us more games.
yeah.
And that's pretty much all I have. Do you have anything else? The Pokemon Go is really the larger article. The other two are a bit shorter.
Nothing specifically.
Yeah, I mean, it's other than just like for me thinking that it's cool that they managed to like create these new jobs and this new line of work in the gaming industry that I believe over time will probably become more and more significant, to the point where hopefully, the larger game developers will have an economist on their team working with like in-game purchases. I mean, it's really a good idea. So, yeah, let's move on to the last article. Beat this one into the ground. Shovel Knight, Plague of Shadows. Okay, so have you ever played Shovel Knight, John?
Nope.
No, but you sure as hell heard me ranting and raving about how much I fucking hated the first time I played through Shovel Knight.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely not my kind of game. It's not like... I'm not absolutely atrociously horrible at platformers, but Shovel Knight's difficult for the sake of being difficult as far as I cared. I beat the game. I did, in fact, beat the game twice. The second playthrough was a bit easier because I did more of a completionist run, so I had a lot more powers. But, the first time I would consider a realistic gamer's experience. Like not trying to do absolutely everything. If something proves too hard, you move on to the next thing. Little did I know that would increase the difficulty exponentially. So, anyways, Shovel Knight. This is a free expansion, and that is pretty cool in itself. Although you do have to defeat the game at least once before you can unlock the content for this expansion. And in this expansion, you get to play as one of the bosses for the original Shovel Knight, Plague Knight. This releases, like I said before, September 17th, this upcoming Thursday, right?
I think so.
Close enough. It releases later this week. And one thing from the very beginning that I liked about it was Plague Knight's abilities seem a lot more long-ranged. He uses a lot more magic, a lot more, like, throwing potion bottles and they explode sort of thing. He looks like he had a double jump ability that was really useful. He had... Basically, it adds a different play style to the game, and I'm never one to bash on that sort of thing. That's always a great thing to see. Although, watching the trailer, and you can watch the YouTube trailer in the description below, it didn't look like there was that much new content. A lot of the stuff looked familiar. In fact, the second picture on the bottom there is a boss from the original Shovel Knight, and the mechanics of the fight look the exact same. The only difference being that you're playing it with a different character. So I don't know how much new stuff there is. It looks like maybe a few new, like, quest hub kind of areas, because there was like a town that you could go to, and it looks like there was maybe a new little hub that you could go to in the trailer that they showed maybe once or twice. But a lot of the bosses and a lot of the levels looked very familiar. It looked the exact same, other than, possibly having an advantage because Plague Knight is more your play style. I mean, I don't know. And at that, can we really complain? Even if it is just kind of like a new character with a reskin? I mean, it's free.
Yeah.
Like, is this a good deal? Like, can we complain? I mean, what are your thoughts on this, John?
I mean, free content is always good. Like, even if you do have to already have beaten the game, then I'm sure the people who have beaten the game are the ones that are wanting for more content.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that works. But I feel like even if it's not a whole new campaign, I mean, we weren't really expecting anything more, I guess. So this is just kind of a nice little bonus.
Yeah.
And no one can really complain about that, right?
Yeah. I was definitely a bit surprised when I heard that this was coming out as free, seeing that Shovel Knight was a Kickstarter, and it was one of the most successful Kickstarted games like ever. It didn't reach its goal within a couple of weeks, and it went well beyond that. I believe it reached into the hundreds of thousands of dollars that it actually raised, and it's definitely one of the more successful games on Steam. So they could have justified actually, well, as long as it's not just a new character, if it is like more quests, at least a few more areas to go to and whatnot. They probably could have easily justified saying like, look, this will cost like, a couple bucks. I believe the game itself is only like $20 to begin with, so maybe like a $30 expansion isn't that good. But I don't know, they definitely could have justified it, I feel like, but I'm not complaining about free, and I'm definitely gonna reinstall Shovel Knight to try out Plague Knight, because it looks more like I might have a good time with this character compared to the other run-throughs that I did. And actually, there wasn't too much bad with Shovel Knight. It was just the big thing that I disliked was the checkpoint system. They had way too few checkpoints for the game. Like, you'd have to go through like 3 or 4 rooms sometimes towards the end of the game to like reach the next checkpoint, and if you died you had to go all the way back to the previous checkpoint, where I felt like a game so heavily embedded in platforming and fighting at the same time, it probably should have been a checkpoint at the end of every room that you went into,
Mm.
and then maybe the larger checkpoints, like if you had to save and quit, that's where you'd go back to, kind of thing. But I don't know. It's promising. I'm definitely going to be interested in it, and once I can get to it, I'll probably play it again. I don't think I'm ever going to do a Shovel Knight Let's Play, because that game is aggravating as fuck. But, I don't know. Maybe I'll do like a highlights reel of Plague Knight or something. I don't know. I haven't done one of those in forever. So, have anything else to say, John?
Well, I mean, this definitely isn't the first time a game, especially an indie game, has done something like this, like a big free expansion, basically. I mean, FTL, Faster Than Light.
Minecraft does
Yeah.
pretty big updates for free. Terraria has done quite a few.
Oh God. Yeah, they've like increased the amount of content like tenfold, basically, with Terraria. Binding of Isaac. The original Flash version had the huge Wrath of the Lamb update. Can't bring any others to mind at this moment, but
yeah, I don't think any, not that I can think of any AAAs have done major content expansions for free. Definitely not World of Warcraft.
Mm.
I mean, I guess I don't know if this counts as AAA, but Ion, but I believe you had to pay for the expansions when they were still pay to play. Now it's completely free, so I mean, everything just comes out for free, but there's very few games that do updates for free, like large updates. Of course, we don't really know if this is a large update yet. I haven't really seen very much. I've seen a small playthrough on the website, where linked in the description below. There's also a small video of a quick playthrough of the first level, and it looks legitimately the exact same. That's where I'm getting a lot of this from. It's not just the boss fights in the trailer look the exact same, because it cuts out really quick to the next scene, but the other video linked on that website is a quick playthrough by, I assume, someone on the website, like a staff, and it looked the exact same for the first level. Like the mini boss fight at the end and everything was the exact same. Although that would bring up an interesting point. When you get to the Plague Knight's level, what would you do? Would you fight Plague Knight as Plague Knight? You know, I would hope that the story would change, because there was some story between revolving around Shovel Knight, and I would hope that maybe Plague Knight would get some interesting development as a character. You know, it looked as though there was. I believe in the YouTube trailer you can look, and there's like some interaction, and they're actually referring to him as Plague Knight instead of like Shovel Knight in a green text. It also brings up an interesting point. If they're going to do something like this for all the bosses in Shovel Knight, or at least a few more, you know, there was quite a few other bosses. Like, the boss fights were the thing that I really, really loved about the game. Like, if there was a mode that was just like fight bosses one after the other, I would have so much fun, because the mechanics for the bosses were amazing. It was getting to the bosses that was the fucking atrocious part. But, yeah, I don't know. For now, definitely rekindled my interest in Shovel Knight. I'm definitely going to check it out. Also because I've already beaten the game, so I can just get right into it. I don't think John's going to be doing anything with it, since I don't think he owns Shovel Knight to begin with.
Nah, not really my style.
Yeah. And I think that's everything we have for the podcast. Yes, indeed it is. So, leave your comments in the comment section below about any of the topics we discussed during this video. Although, and I revised the guidelines or the requirements for the comments a little bit, because it was like really late at night last time we did the first episode. So this time, the comments just have to follow two guidelines. They have to be insightful, meaning you have to actually say something worth meaning. If you want to just say like "nice video," that's fine. You know, I don't mind random acts of kindness or random words of kindness, I guess. But like, you know, this video sucked. Well, why? You know, I don't mind criticism. Just tell me what I did wrong in a respectful manner, and that's the other one, respectful. So, and it'll be fine. And all comments are up to my discretion as to what is appropriate and what is not. The comments will be show up on approve for the podcasts, so keep that in mind when you're writing your comments. So they have to be insightful and respectful. Please follow those guidelines. Leave your comments in the comment section below if you have any ideas about anything else you might want to see me play for Let's Plays, for videos other than the podcast slot. And as always, the comment question still stands. Try and guess the intro and outro songs to my videos. They're always the same. I never change them. Be sure to follow me on Instagram for the latest updates on when I'll be uploading YouTube videos, as well as when I'll be streaming on Twitch and other random gaming-related posts. Be sure to check out my partner in crime, Sirjohnmac's channel. He posts something every now and then, and it's usually pretty entertaining, whatever it is. Got anything else to say, John?
Nope.
Alright, well, if you like this video, be sure to click that like button. If you want to see more like it, maybe even subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And that's all the time we got for today, guys. So until next time, don't die.